Guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to make a video to illustrate to you guys how it is that we do polynomial long division. Okay, so yesterday you guys reviewed how to do regular long division with regular constant numbers, because the mechanics of doing polynomial long division are actually almost exactly the same as doing the long division that you learned in elementary school. So what I have written out here is two forms of the same problem. So on today's worksheet, all the problems are going to be listed out like this top guy here. And what you need to do if you're going to actually carry out the division is rewrite them the way that you see this guy rewritten down here below. So if I'm looking up top, in the numerator of this fraction, okay, I see 27x cubed plus 9x squared minus 3x minus 10. And in the denominator of the fraction, I see 3x minus 2. So what's written in red, both the top and the bottom, so you can see in the fraction up top, and then when I converted it into long division in the bottom, the piece that's written in red is what's known as the dividend, and the piece that's written in blue is what's known as the divisor. Okay, the dividend is the number or expression that is being divided, and the divisor is the number or expression that is actually doing the dividing. Okay, so you'll notice that when I set this thing up to do the long division, I took the numerator, and that's the piece that went underneath the division sign, and I took the denominator of the fraction, or the divisor, and that's the piece that's written outside of the division sign, because that's the piece that is doing the dividing. One more thing that I should note before we do some examples is that whenever you are going to do one of these questions, you always need to make sure that both the dividend and the divisor are arranged in such a way that they are going in descending order according to the degree of each term, which is the value of the exponent, right? So if you notice, the degree of the first term here is 3 because there's an x cubed. The degree of this next term here is a 2 because it's written as x squared. The degree of this guy here is 1, x to the first, and this guy doesn't even have an exponent on the end, right? He's just a constant term. Same thing with my divisor. My divisor also has to be written in order from least to greatest in terms of the degree, right? So this first term could be looked at as x to the first, and this guy does not have an exponent, right? The last thing I'll mention, and this is just me getting a little bit of ahead, this is what we're going to look at tomorrow, is, let me just get this stuff out of the way quick. Sometimes when you do a problem like this, let's say for a second that this guy just didn't have a 9x squared term. Sometimes you're missing a term. Whenever you're missing a term, you do need to fill in that term with a placeholder, right? So if this guy was just 27x cubed minus 3x minus 10, when I'm going to do my division, in order to get the question correct, I actually need to put in a placeholder, a 0x squared. If there are no x squared terms, I need to put in a 0x squared term as a placeholder in order for the division algorithm to work correctly. But we will explore that more tomorrow. Let's go through a question right now and see what we come up with, all right? So there are pretty much 4 steps that you guys are going to do over and over and over again until the question is complete, right? So the 4 steps are going to look like this. We are going to divide, we are going to multiply, we are going to subtract, and then we are going to bring down. Alright, and these are all the steps to regular division, but we're going to go through them one by one. So like I said, step 1 to doing one of these questions is always to divide. So in this case, I'm going to divide the first term underneath my division sign, so this guy right here, and I'm going to divide that by the first term of my divisor. So in essence, what I'm doing right now is 27x cubed divided by 3x. So if I were to do 27x cubed divided by 3x, well, 27 divided by 3 is 9, and x cubed divided by x is x squared. And now I've completed check 1, which is divide. The second step is always to multiply through. So once I have done this division, I'm always going to take the term that I have just come up with, and I'm trying to circle this for you guys, and I am going to multiply it back through my divisor, just like you would in regular division. Okay? So 9x squared times 3x is 27x cubed, and if we did our division correctly, these should always be the same. This guy and this guy should always end up being the same. Alright? Otherwise, we did our division incorrectly. If 9x squared is actually the quotient of 27x cubed divided by 3x, well, then when I multiply this guy back through, I better get 27x cubed here. The next piece is that I have to do 9x squared times negative 2, which actually gives me negative 18x squared. So now I've completed step 2, which is to multiply. And now I have to do step 3, which is subtraction, right? So I'm going to subtract here, and I'm going to do 27x cubed minus 27x cubed. These guys should go away. They cancel each other out. And the next piece here is to do 9x squared minus negative 18x squared. So I see kids make this mistake all the time. Remember, when you are subtracting a negative, your answer should actually get larger. Subtracting a negative makes a number bigger. It's like you're adding, right? So 9x squared minus negative 18x squared is actually going to give me positive 27x squared. So that was step 3, and now we have step 4, which is to bring down my next term before I do the rest of the division. Once I've completed all 4 steps, I'm going to go right back up to the top, and I'm going to start the list over again, right? So now I'm going to divide 3x into 27x squared. So 27x squared divided by 3x is going to give me positive 9x. 27 divided by 3 is again 9. And x squared divided by x gives me x. And now I've completed the divide step again, so now I have to multiply again. Step 2. So I'm going to take my 9x, I'm going to multiply it by 3x, and of course I'm going to get 27x squared. Again, the first terms here should match. Otherwise, I did my division wrong. And the next step is to multiply through the second piece. So 9x times negative 2 is going to give me negative 18x. And again, now it's time for me to subtract. 27x squared minus 27x. These are going to cancel each other out. Right? I'm left with a 0 here. And now I have to do negative 3x minus negative 18x. Again, subtracting a negative is really like adding. So negative 3 plus 18x should give me a positive 15x. I've completed my second step of subtraction. And the last thing for me to do is to bring down this last term, negative 10. And now I'm going to go through this process one more time. Okay? 15x divided by 3x should give me positive 5, right? So now I've done my third step of dividing. I'm going to multiply back through, so 5 times 3x is 15x, and 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. So I've completed my multiplication for the third time. Now I have to subtract, so I have to do 15x minus 15x. Those canceled each other out again. Negative 10 minus negative 10 is also 0. Those cancel each other out. And I've completed my division. Notice I was not left with a remainder. I'm going to make another video for you guys in a second showing you what it looks like when you have a remainder, when you do one of these guys. Not having a remainder, what does that tell you about this guy right here? 3x minus 2. Well, to answer that question, let's actually go, and this is the problem I'm going to do in the next video, so I don't want to do that. I want to add a page. So, what does not having a remainder tell you about the relationship between 3x minus 2 and 27x cubed plus 9x squared minus 3x minus 10? Well, to figure that out, let's just take the number 25 for a second and let's divide it by the number 5, right? I happen to know already that 5 is a factor of 25. We all know that, right? How many times does 5 go into 25? It goes in exactly 5 times with no remainder. When there is no remainder, it means that this number is a factor of this number. What would happen if I tried to divide the number 25 by something that I know is not a factor, like let's say 7. 7 is not a factor of 25. Well, how many times does 7 go into 25? It goes in 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21, and when I do the subtraction, I'm left with a remainder of 4. 7 does not go into 4 any times, right? So my quotient here would be 3 and 4/7. Okay, that's my remainder. And what I know about the number 7 is because it doesn't evenly divide into the number 25 without causing there to be a remainder, is that 7 is not a factor of 25. So coming back up here, I know now that 3x minus 2 must be a factor of 27x cubed plus 9x squared minus 3x minus 10 because it evenly divided into that guy and it did not leave a remainder down here. Further, I also know that 9x squared plus 9x plus 5 must also be a factor of 27x cubed plus 9x squared minus 3x minus 10. Why is that? Well, let's just explore real quick one more time with another simple number, right? Let's do 24 divided by 8. I know that 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. Subtract. I'm left with no remainder. So guess what? If you're left with a problem with 0 remainder, the number up here, your quotient, is also a factor of the number that's underneath the division sign. So I'm going to cut this video there. I'm going to upload it for you guys. And then I am going to throw up a video right now about what happens when my divisor does not go into my dividend evenly. Alright? So, see you guys in a few.